So today, we're going to dive into one of the most incredible birds on the entire planet, the Hyacinth Macaw. And let me tell you, it's a story of just stunning beauty, some surprising, well, noise, and this really fascinating kind of paradoxical life it leads, split between two completely different worlds. Let's get right into it. First off, just look at this bird. The description I found for it is perfect. The feathers are this deep cobalt, almost a violet blue, and then you get that pop of bright electric yellow skin right around its eyes and beak. It is an absolutely breathtaking animal. You know, it's a real privilege to see one even in a picture, never mind in person, but its looks are really only half the story. Because for all that quiet, majestic beauty, they are unbelievably loud. The world's noisiest birds, with a screech that is, and I mean this literally, deafening if you're up close. And this is really the first of many wild contrasts we're going to see with the Hyacinth Macaw. But here's a cool little distinction. While it's the longest, it's not the heaviest. Nope, that title belongs to the kakapo, that amazing flightless parrot from New Zealand. It's a fun fact that really puts the hyacinth's unique size into perspective. Okay, so to really understand this magnificent bird, we need to explore the two worlds it lives in. We're going to start with its natural home, the wild. And we're not just talking about any old jungle. This is a very, very specific and specialized environment. Now, you probably picture a bird like this deep in the Amazon rainforest, right? But that's actually a really common mistake. The Hyacinth macaw is mostly found in central to southern Brazil, and it prefers these riverine forests that cut through more open, lightly wooded areas. Its main stronghold is a place called the Pantanal, which is this huge, seasonally flooded grassland. And inside the Pantanal, there is one particular tree that is the absolute key to their survival, the Mauritia palm. I mean, these palms are everything to the macaw. They provide their favorite food, these super tough palm nuts, and they're also their #1 spot for nesting. This kind of specialized diet and habitat is what makes them so perfectly adapted, but it also makes them incredibly vulnerable. And that very vulnerability, well, it led to a devastating crisis. Which brings us to the next part of our story, the vanishing, and how this gentle giant of the parrot world started to just disappear from its own home. The pressures on them were almost entirely from humans. You had trappers targeting adult birds for the illegal pet trade, and then there was this horrifyingly destructive practice where they would chop down entire Mauritia palm trees, their life source, just to snatch the babies from the nests. On top of that, as more settlers moved into the remote Pantanal, the macaw's habitat just kept shrinking, forcing the few that were left to nest on these high, nearly impossible-to-reach cliff faces. The result was, well, it was catastrophic. By 1987, it was estimated that only 3,000 Hyacinth Macaws were left in the entire world. 3,000. I mean, just let that number sink in. That is a shockingly small number for a species that used to thrive across this huge part of Brazil. It was clear the wild was becoming a seriously dangerous place for them. Which brings us to a really critical question, and a huge turning point in this whole story. With their natural home in so much trouble, could their second world, the world of captivity, actually be a lifeline? And that takes us to the other side of the Hyacinth Macaw's life, a caged hope. So let's dive into the really complex, challenging, and often paradoxical world of captive breeding. And right away, here's the paradox. Even as the wild population was just plummeting, a pretty surprising number of these birds were actually living in aviaries all around the world. So this captive population, it represented a potential safety net, right? But getting them to breed successfully, that was a whole different ballgame. See, just putting a male and a female together was absolutely no guarantee of success. Fertility, it turns out, is a massive problem. You'd have some pairs that would lay eggs year after year, but they were almost always infertile. Because of this, a lot of the most successful breeders don't even let the parents raise their own young. They take the eggs, put them in incubators, and then hand-rear the chicks themselves. So, if it's that hard, what does a successful blueprint for breeding these incredible birds even look like? What's the secret sauce? Well, it really boils down to two huge factors: space and diet. Okay, now this slide really hammers home the importance of space. You can see that while some breeders had kind of spotty success in smaller indoor aviaries, the ones who were consistently successful provided massive enclosures. I mean, look at that German breeder, a huge outdoor aviary plus a big indoor room. And the Ferreira pair, who famously raised 6 chicks in 1 year, Their aviary was 10 meters long. It just goes to show you, these giant birds need tons of room to fly and exercise to get into that peak breeding condition. And their diet is just as complex. It is not just a handful of seeds, believe me. The successful breeders start with a base of cooked soft foods. Then they add a specialized supplement with all the right vitamins and minerals. Then they add parrot pellets for balanced nutrition. And then finally, they top it all off with a variety of nuts and fruits. It is a super meticulous, multi-step process that just takes immense dedication. So where does all this leave us? You've got a species that's really struggling in the wild, and this dedicated but really challenging effort to breed them in captivity. This brings us to their very fragile future, which, as it turns out, depends entirely on balancing these two worlds. Ultimately, the big takeaway here is this. One world cannot save the hyacinth macaw alone. It's just not possible. Its survival really hinges on a two-pronged attack. We absolutely have to protect the Pantanal and those Mauritia palms out in the wild. But at the exact same time, breeders have to keep strengthening the genetic pool of the captive population. Both are completely essential for the long-term future of the species. And all of this leaves us with one last, really thought-provoking question that kind of sits at the heart of all modern conservation. What is the ultimate goal here? Is it to make sure there's a thriving, healthy population of hyacinth macaws, even if they can only exist in captivity? Or is the only true success a secure, self-sustaining population back in its rightful home, in the wild? It's a really complex question, and there's no easy answer.
Thanks so much for watching. By the way, I also publish a bird magazine dedicated to conservation, birding, and aviculture, everything about birds. In the magazine, you'll find in-depth articles, practical tips, and breeder experiences that go beyond what we share here on YouTube. A free standard version is available to download from my website. And if you'd like even more, the premiere version includes additional articles, free ebooks, full-page advertising in the standard edition, and many other great benefits. You'll find the links in the description below. And as always, you're welcome to reach out anytime, either in the comments or by email. See you in the next video.